Hello and welcome to Stateline. Imagine being able to ignore water restrictions without breaking the law. For some householders interstate, this is their reality. Not because it's rained, but because authorities there have approved small home-based greywater recycling plants. Here, the picture is different. Although South Australia is at the forefront of large-scale recycling, proponents of household systems say outdated regulations are blocking them, making this state the Greywater backwater.
The days where you could have a long guilt-free shower or put the sprinklers on the lawn almost seem like ancient history. But in this suburban Adelaide home, a system has been developed that its inventor says sets people free from water restrictions.
Wash your car. Water your gardens, have a nice lush garden. No water restrictions, no bucketing. You would be able to get your lifestyle back.
Mark Lobban's design takes an individual household's greywater, that is water from showers and washing machines, cleans it up using ozone to break down chemicals and bacteria, and recycles it for uses such as watering the garden and flushing the toilet. He's managed to get $500,000 in backing from private investors, but says SA Health Department bureaucracy is blocking him from going further.
This particular type of system can be readily bought in New South Wales, ACT, Victoria and Queensland. In fact, there's up to about 9 commercial brands of them now. In South Australia, you haven't got that option. You can't buy it. It's illegal. The interesting thing is being an innovator and an inventor of technology to purify greywater. We can't even get a pilot trial up in South Australia. It's too complicated.
And he's not the only one who's frustrated with South Australia's regulations.
So the first thing we want to do is have a quick look over it, double check a few points.
Across the border, the Victorians say South Australia is a backwater when it comes to greywater.
Well, in South Australia, we achieved our first level of approval quite some time ago, which meant that the product was acceptable, but then in order to get it into the field, we had a whole range of hurdles which we didn't expect. Those sorts of hurdles were basically that there didn't appear to be any framework with which approvals could be given at an individual site level. So all applications ended up back at South Australian Health Department, who, although they'd approved the product, didn't actually have a performance regime to work within.
Mal Gordon has a similar system to Mark Lobban, but in his case, he's already been able to sell his product interstate, where the regulations permit it. He says in houses where it's being used, it's cutting water use by up to 70%.
Rightio, Joey, so there's the treated water, so that's what comes out the far end.
Mr Lobban says the final version of his product should cost consumers about $5,000, but department requirements such as the installation of a 24-hour monitoring device would jack up the price tag by as much as $20,000. The Health Department rejects that.
I'd be surprised if it went that high. But there are online monitoring systems available. All public swimming pools are required to have online monitoring systems for disinfection.
But Mark Lobban says the solution for him is simple. He's moving his company to Queensland.
I'm from South Australia and I'm quite patriotic about that. I would love to stay here and to commercialise this in South Australia and go out to the rest of the world. However, we've got to face commercial realities. The market's open interstate.
It leaves South Australia a long way behind. It is really, I think the bureaucrats are doing their job based on what they've got in front of them to do, but unless they change the framework that they're dealing with, they'll never catch up.
These home recycling units have the backing of the University of Adelaide's Water Economics and Management Research Chair, Mike Young, who believes the Health Department's regulations are outdated.
The culture we have and the way we've looked after health standards grew out of an era about 100 years ago when we had night carts that carried away all of our sewage behind a horse on a dray. And we've now moved into setting up sewage systems which were critical for health, but we still haven't yet in South Australia moved to highly innovative systems that enable small-scale technology. The whole system is biased towards running big systems, and there's a small-scale solution which other states are now rapidly implementing, and South Australia just has to make a small step change, and SA Health could do that quite quickly.
I think that Minister John Hill, Minister for Health, needs to have a good hard look at what's happening interstate, and perhaps hold at bay his public servants in the department that have got a very antiquated approach to things, and perhaps a 19th century approach for harm and risk minimisation, and have a good look at what's happening in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria.
But the department's principal water quality advisor, David Cunliffe, says South Australia's rules are in line with national guidelines. Dr Cunliffe buckets Greywater onto his own garden, but when it comes to bringing that water back into the house, he says extra caution is needed.
You use Greywater for hygiene. You use it to wash your hands. You use it to wash potentially harmful microorganisms off your hands and your body. So Greywater is a wastewater. It isn't suitable for drinking, and it's not suitable for mixing with drinking water supplies.
Dr Cunliffe says South Australia isn't a backwater on Greywater. In fact, Bureau of Statistics figures show South Australia is ahead of other states in many areas of water use.
We do reasonably well in terms of Greywater use. We're above the national average. We have the highest use of recycled water in general across Australia, and we have the highest use of rainwater tanks in Australia.
Professor Mike Young says he hopes the department takes a new look at how it addresses home recycling systems before innovators such as Mark Lobban are pushed out of the state.
We've attracted a lot of the leading edge innovators here in Adelaide. They live here, they sell their products in other states because we don't yet have the regime here. So there's a brilliant opportunity. The talent's here, we export it, but we don't use it locally. And there's a very simple step change to say, and that's to say, welcome home. Why don't you make what you make work elsewhere, work in Adelaide?
Andrew Evans, the